Yes, I didn't see. What are you looking so sad about, Jam?
Man, I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I was on a Bomber Lamont tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
We lived on the tour.
Okay. How's everybody today? This is Cat Sports the Box Story. Man, I didn't add myself to the screen to start the show. But it's 2:00, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. It's the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. Today it's gonna be boxing in Brazil. It's Thursday, and we always go around the world, look at different countries on Thursdays. We're going in alphabetical order, just like the box against the state. Today is Brazil. Salute, Mike Grimm. How are you today? We're going to start it out with the fighter today. The fighter of the day, as usual, is going to be the toy bulldog Mickey Walker versus Jack Sharkey. Okay, that's the fight of the day today. Here they are. Yeah, I was going to town talking and hadn't even added myself to the screen. But what's up, Mike Grimm? Salute. Okay, so let's get into the fight of the day. I didn't get but a paragraph into it. So let's start again. July 22nd, 1931. The toy bulldog Mickey Walker versus Jack Sharkey. Walker versus Sharkey. Okay. Now, there really was nothing left to prove. Why Mickey Walker felt an assault on the heavyweight division was necessary, nobody still living knows. It likely had much to do with money and the way he and his manager, Jack Doc Kearns, burned through it with all the liquor and high living. History and legacy had to have been lesser concerns. Walker had already been welterweight and middleweight champion and had even kept matters close with one of the best ever in Harry Greb. Then again, Walker didn't just take a stab at some paydays with his foray into the big man territory. Instead, it was a full-fledged campaign on a division that lacked a dominant champion. Okay. There's Walker and Sharkey. Walker on the right, Sharkey on the left. Technique. What's up, Technique? That's a good one. Technique. I'm gonna write that down. Yep. Yeah, I'll take all suggestions. Technique says you should cover the Irish bloodline in boxing. Even Ali had Irish blood. Okay, Technique. Let me jot that down real quick. I'm gonna cover the Irish bloodline. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Appreciate your Technique. Okay. Yeah. Fight of the day is the toy bulldog Mickey Walker versus Jack Sharkey. Excuse me. Now, Mickey spotted heavyweight spoiler Johnny Risco 30 pounds before decking and defeating him in November of 1930. And Kearns, his manager, urged Walker to call out young stripling as well as former heavyweight champion Jack Sharkey, who was a few months removed from losing the title by disqualification to Max Smelling. Remember, that one was the only time ever the heavyweight championship changed hands on a foul. They did have a rematch which Sharkey won, but a lot of people said that Smelling got robbed, because they was trying to keep the heavyweight championship out of Hitler's hands. That was right before World War II, and Hitler would have used it as a propaganda tool. But yeah, we covered that the other day, so yeah. But yeah, Sharkey was a few months removed from losing the title by disqualification to Max Smelling. But Sharkey had his heart set on his old title and stayed out for over a year, waiting on his rematch. Now, 2 years of failing to defend his middleweight crown had gone by with a suspension from the New York State Athletic Commission to boot. So Walker relinquished the title rather than attempt to make the weight once more. As reports of a likely Walker versus Sharkey matchup flooded papers in mid-June, Colorado Senator Wild Bill Lyons, who had previously served as Jack Dempsey's timekeeper, caught wind of Walker's abdication of the title. I knew he couldn't make the middleweight limit anymore, Lyons said. And here is something else you can marked down in the book. Walker's first fight as a heavyweight will be against Jack Sharkey. And boys, what a scrap that will be. And there's a nice drawing of the toy bulldog, Mickey Walker. The legendary toy bulldog that was drawn by Damian Burton, famous artist from that period. Now, Walker was as venomous as they came and had battled through a few larger opponents already. So he had little to lose when he began training in Orangeburg, New York, a camp that would later be shared by lightweight great Tony Canzonieri and wrestling champion Jim the Golden Greek Lundos. Now, much of the previews centered on how the toy bulldog was likable, but was also old, scarred, and weathered. And the 30-year-old started out a 2-1 underdog when the fight was finalized for Ebbets Field, which was Brooklyn Dodgers territory. Now, successful promoter James Johnston, a former street tough and pro fighter, stepped in to handle affairs. Sharkey's trip to the Schuyler House in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey for training was reportedly delayed by bad weather, but it was just as likely that Sharkey waited to leave for Boston to second a fighter he was co-managing, Ernie Schaff, who was fighting Jim Maloney again on July 10th. And there's Sharkey, Jack Sharkey, tough as they come. Salute Mike Mazik in the building. How are you today, Mike? Yeah, Jack Sharkey was as tough as they came, you know. Look at him, he looks tough. In fact, much of Sharkey's focus was on rematching Smelling and Stribling and heavily trash-talking both every chance he got. Perhaps it was the size difference that left Sharkey dismissive of Walker's challenge. But a week before the fight, he told INS reporter Les Conklin, "While I'm not taking Mickey Walker lightly, I'd be a so-and-so if I said I couldn't lick a middleweight. Walker's only chance is to get in close, but he'll never do it. I'll hold him off with my left and make a nice whittling job of it, slow but sure." Walker was susceptible to boxers. He was rarely overpowered or strong-armed, but he had issues with movers and fighters with quick hands. Now, Sharkey didn't fall into either of those categories, but odds widened to 3-1 for the Boston guard shortly after he was seen felling sparring partners in a particularly rigorous final workout. Yeah, Sharkey, that was his nickname, the Boston guard. Okay. And the fight was at Ebbets Field, World's Heavyweight Championship. There was a picture that was on the official program. The price to get in was 25 cents. Okay, 25 cents. Wow. You get into a heavyweight championship fight. What's up, Al Booger? Salute, my friend. Al Booger. My only channel member. Still working on those hats. I haven't forgot you, Al Booger. I appreciate you. But salute, Al Booger. The fighter today is Mickey Walker versus Jack Sharkey. That's a copy of the program, and it costs 25 cents to get in. Right? 1931. 25 cents to get into a world heavyweight title fight. But just a few rounds into the fight, saw Walker ignoring the odds and reddening Sharkey's right cheek and his ribs on the right side. To W.A. Hamilton, Sharkey had the time of his life trying to locate Mickey with a solid wallop and missed more right hand punches than he was ever known to in any previous fight. Now, the career high 169 pounds was wearing on Mickey Walker, though, and he was caught up to rocked and cut above the right eye in round 5. Yeah, Walker came in he was really a middleweight. Had fought his lowest welterweight at 169. He fought at heavyweight at 169 pounds, and that was a career high for him. Okay? Visibly much larger, Sharkey clinched Walker, leaning on him in close, rabbit punching, butting, and hitting low before connecting with hard jabs from the outside. Yet Sharkey was known to foul, you know. Now Walker was landing from a crouch when he could, but Sharkey was still markedly bigger and stronger, and it showed in the middle rounds. But in round 9, Walker hurt Sharkey with right hands upstairs mixed with hooks to the liver, and battered him in the 10th round before Sharkey got his bearings and went back to stalling for a few rounds. Again, in rounds 13 and 14, Walker found a tired, stationary man from Boston easy to find, and Sharkey held and hit to get out of trouble. And it worked, as in the final bruising round, Sharkey tore a wider cut on Walker's eye and almost floored him before the bell. In context, it was an inspiring performance from the comparatively diminutive Walker, while a resoundingly disappointing one from the heavyweight ex-champion, Sharkey. Damon Runyon said from ringside after the draw was announced, "It proves Walker's caliber as a fighting man." He had fought to a draw. Former champion James J. Corbett wrote, "Sharkey gained plenty of cash tonight, but lost tremendously in prestige. All told, Sharkey was paid just over $60,000 for the no-win affair. Walker got over $40,000. While the Milk Fund, a charity organization that provided needy children with milk, got half, or about $100,000. And excuse me for a minute. Yeah, that was 1931. So that was a pretty good purchase for that time. Sharkey got $60,000. Walker got $40,000. That's probably I know it's well over $1 million nowadays. Let me see if I can I should get it right quick. What is equivalent to today? That was 1931. $60,000 in 1931. Anybody know? Bear with me for one moment. I should have just not even worried about it, but we're going to find out now. $60,000 in 1931, equivalent to in 2025, got to be well over $1 million. Because I know 3 million was around 15 million. Okay. Okay, yeah, 1.1 million. Now, right? 60,000 was 1.1 million, so 40,000 wasn't too far behind. Okay, in 1931. And they fought to a draw. The fight ended up being a draw. That Tory Bulldog life Walker hitting the links with Kearns, his son, and others the morning after going 15 rounds with Sharkey. Here there's Walker, his manager, his son. The same temper that lost Sharkey the heavyweight title on a low blow was probably to blame for suffering a draw to a much smaller man, as referee Artie Donovan warned Sharkey for foul punches and headbutting several times, and he cast his ballot for Walker. The referee did. Further, when Walker vs. Sharkey was signed, Sharkey pounded the table with a wild look in his eyes, ranting about smelling and warning against the new champion taking any other fights but a rematch. It was hubris and rage, and it showed. He was looking right past Walker, a fact which showed again in the fight. Took Walker lightly. Sharkey eventually got that rematch with Smelling and won the heavyweight title from Smelling by a controversial split decision. But not long after he lost to Primo Carnera and his days as a champion threat were over, meanwhile, Walker moved on to beat some more heavyweights before falling to Smelling and Risco, and then Maxie Rosenblum for the light heavyweight crown. And it was mostly downhill after that. Alas, these accomplishments were needed. Walker's place among the heap of greats was and remains very secure, both in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. That was a fight of the day today. Mickey Walker versus Jack Sharkey. Mickey Walker, coming from middleweight, came into the fight at 169 pounds. Fought the heavyweight champion Jack Sharkey to a draw, who was looking past him, because that was in between the two Sharkey and Smelling fights. Remember, Sharkey lost his title to Smelling on a foul. He got it back in the rematch, but this was in between those two fights. And the rematch was arguably, they robbed Smelling, trying to keep the title away from Hitler. What's up, Sonny Boy Boxing? Good to see you today. Yeah, we're going to talk about boxing in Brazil today. It's boxing around the world, okay? So let's get into it. Salute Sonny Boy Boxing. Boxing in Brazil. And that's right there. That's the greatest Brazilian boxer of all time right there. Edir Joffre. Okay? And he did his best work at bantamweight. So we're gonna at the end, we're gonna look at some other bantamweights today too. Some other great bantamweight boxers. Okay? Later in the show. Bear with me for a moment. Man, I need a assistant, a lighting crew, all that kind of stuff. Anybody looking for a job? Minimum wage, about $2 or $3 per hour. Okay, but let's go. Boxing in Brazil today. That's Edir Joffre on the screen. He's the greatest Brazilian boxer of all time, I would say. But salute, Sonny Boy. Okay, let's look at a little boxing history in Brazil. Then we're gonna look at some boxers from Brazil, some other great bantamweights. That's where Edir Joffre, the greatest boxer in Brazil, did his best work. Boxing in Brazil. How's everybody this Thursday afternoon? Not much going on this weekend in the world of boxing. We got some prospect fights tomorrow. But we can't sleep on those prospects because, they're going to be the champions of tomorrow. I remember when Tank and Devin and Shakur and all them was prospects. Benavidez. Now look at them. So, yeah. We got to check these prospects out. Okay, boxing in Brazil. Now, boxing emerged organically in Brazil in the second half of the 19th century. Around 1860 to 1880, Italian, German, Spanish, and Portuguese immigrants brought a great deal of cultural knowledge to the country. And part of that knowledge was boxing. But it was the English, American, and French immigrants who most influenced the arrival of boxing in Brazil. Boxing was restricted to immigrants in places such as Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, Rio de Janeiro, and Sao Paulo. Clandestine demonstrations and competitions were held, notably by sailors, mainly Americans and English, working on the railroads and ports, and Confederate immigrants from the United States. There were street fighting competitions without many rules, improvised rings in theaters, bars, and houses without any regulations. Okay? Now, boxing, as well as Charleston, Savate, and Apoeira, were seen as things for the poor, criminals, troublemakers, and street gangs. It was in August of 1894 that the country's first official fight was held. Okay, August 1894, the first official fight in Brazil. Now, the fight would be between the notorious English boxer Jack Hare, who fought in the bantamweight category, and the newcomer, a Brazilian of English origin, Ernie Sudel. Now, Hare was already experienced, having a record of 11 fights with 6 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws. The Brazilian Sudel, even though he was a beginner, he was skilled and had great technique. Now, the fight lasted 15 rounds, ending in a draw, which was a very impressive feat for a beginner who was making his debut in a country like Brazil, which had no boxing tradition, right? Now, Hare fought from 1890 to 1924 and compiled a record of 48 wins, 18 losses, and 11 draws with 17 knockouts. His opponent, Brazilian Ernie Sudel, retired after that fight, the draw. That was his debut and his one and only fight. Now, the Hare and Sudel fight will remain only in the memories of boxing enthusiasts. But boxing gained strength among the country's elite, and it also became popular among the country's poorest, right? Such as blacks, mixed race people, sailors, and immigrants. Just Do Boxing in the building. Boxing in Brazil today, Just Do. Y'all know Just Do's on at 4 p.m. Dallas Unbiased Boxing Talk. Everybody gets their Just Do at Just Do Boxing. And that's who I'm warming y'all up for. A salute, Just Do Boxing in the building. Boxing in Brazil today. Now, many opted for boxing because capoeira had been banned since 1891. Capoeira was another type of martial arts, and that had been banned. In 1905, the popular magazine Cosmos reported that the most popular fighting styles in Brazil were boxing, savate, capoeira, fencing, and jiu-jitsu. At that time, there were already clashes between fighters from different martial arts. Now, between 1904 and 1908, wrestling and jiu-jitsu became popular. Now, there was knowledge about boxing spreading in Brazil through newspapers and radio news. Jack Johnson was a hero for many in Porto Alegre, Rio de Janeiro, and Sao Paulo after his win over James J. Jeffries in 1908. In addition, in 1912, American boxer Jack Murray began teaching boxing in Brazil. Now, the first great Brazilian champion during this period was Benedicto dos Santos. I don't know if he was any kin to Edwin de los Santos. Anyway, The success of Brazilian boxers against foreign opponents in the early 20th century and the regulation of boxing in 1920 brought an era of enthusiasm to Brazilian boxing. Okay. The Bakambu Arena was opened in 1940, and it was the scene of some great fights. And for the first time, Brazilians could see fights at a truly international level. Now, other venues also hosted boxing in the then federal capital, such as Riachuelo Stadium, Manuel Short Stadium, Federal Stadium, Pavilion Floriano, among others. However, it is the figure of headquarters of Rio Boxing developed by Estadio Brazil. It's undeniably during its almost 10 years of activity. In 1935, for example, of the 33 events that took place in Rio de Janeiro, 32 were at Estadio Brazil. As early as 1938, all 30 pro boxing cards held in Rio de Janeiro was held on the premises of Estadio Brazil. Now, Brazilian boxing started achieving international recognition in the late 1950s. Edir Joffre, widely considered the greatest boxer in Brazilian history, emerged during this period. Okay. Joffre went on to become the undisputed world bantamweight champion and later the world featherweight champion, earning global acclaim and becoming a Brazilian icon. Now, the modern era and recent successes in Brazilian boxing. Now, but boxing continues to be a popular sport in Brazil, particularly in the Northeast, and is considered a sport of the working class. The notable Brazilian boxers include Edir Joffre, Acelino Freitas, Magula, Miguel de Oliveira, Valdemir Pereira, Rose Volante, and Patrick Teixeira. Ralston Conceição won Brazil's first Olympic gold medal in boxing in 2016. And that year, the Olympics was in Rio de Janeiro. He was followed by Herbert Conceição. Now, other Olympic medalists include Cirilo de Oliveira, Yamaguchi Falcao, Esquiva Falcao, Abner Teixeira, Adriana Araujo, and Beatriz Ferreira. The history of boxing in Brazil demonstrates the journey of a sport that, despite early challenges and social perceptions, has grown to achieve national recognition and international acclaim, producing legendary champions and inspiring future generations of boxers. Okay, boxing in Brazil. Okay, let's take a look at some of these boxers from Brazil first. The greatest Brazilian boxer of all time, Edir Joffre. There's Edir. Yeah, Edir Joffre. Yeah, he did most of his work in the bantamweight division, and we're gonna look at some other great bantamweights throughout history too later. But let's take a look at Edir Joffre. The great Edir Joffre. I used to think he was from South Africa for the longest time, but no, he was Brazilian. The great Edir Joffre. Let's take a look at his great career. Excuse me for one moment, please. Okay, let's take a look at Edir Joffre, the greatest Brazilian boxer of all time. That's Edir up there on the screen there. Oh, hit the like and subscribe, please. Okay. Appreciate everybody in the building so far. Just Do Boxing, Sonny Boy Boxing, Al Booger, Mike Mazik, Technique, Mike Rim, Miss Cass. Okay. Ida Joffre. Now, March 26, 1936 was when Ida Joffre was born. Exactly 21 years later, on the exact same date in 1957, he knocked out Raul Lopez in the third round in Sao Paulo, Brazil, at his pro debut. Okay, made his pro debut on the same day he was born, 21 years of age. Now, he's a Brazilian former boxer whom many consider to be the best Brazilian boxer of all time. Joffre is also considered by many historians as the greatest bantamweight of all time. A native of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Joffre, whose nickname was the Golden Bantam, and Joe Frijo, made his pro debut on March 23rd, 1957, same day of his birthday, beating Raul Lopez by knockout in the third round. He had a total of 12 fights in 1957, his first year, including 2 each against Lopez, Osvaldo Perez, and Ernesto Miranda, against whom Joffre sustained his first 2 record stains, 2 10-round draws. Okay? He had 2 10-round draws against the same man in his first year. 2 draws in his first year of fighting. Excuse me. I was moving the screen closer. Sorry for the noise. Now, he began 1958 by winning 4 more fights. And then on May 14th of 1958, he had his first fight outside of Brazil, which was a 10-round draw against Ruben Caceros in Uruguay. On November 14th, Jose Smeca became the first and only man to drop Joffre in his pro career. Yep, he got dropped for the first and only time in his second year of competing. Now, Joffre got up from the first round knockdown to knock Smeca out in the 7th round. Joffre won 8 fights in 1959, including one against 2-time world title challenger Leo Espinosa, and a 7th round knockout in a rematch with Caceros. On February 19th, 1960, he fought Ernesto Miranda for the 3rd time, this time with the South American bantamweight title on the line. Joffre outpointed Miranda over 15 rounds to win his first title as a pro. Joffre retained the title with a knockout in 3 rounds in a 4th fight with Miranda. And after one more win, he made his American debut. First fight in the United States. He beat top-ranked challenger Jose Medel by knockout in 10 rounds on August 16th in Los Angeles, California. United States debut. On November 18th of that same year, Joffre became the National Boxing Association World Champion. That was a major sanctioning body, remember, that was a couple years before it came to WBA. It was his first title, the NBA World Champion. He knocked out former World Bantamweight Champion Jose Becerra's conqueror Eloy Sanchez in 6 rounds back in Los Angeles. And Joffre proved to be a busy world champion, fighting top-notch fighters, both in title fights and in non-title fights. From 1960 to 1965, he retained his title against Piero Rollo, Ramon Arias, Johnny Cardwell, Herman Marquez, Jose Madero, Kazuyoshi Aoki, Johnny Jamito, and Bernardo Caraballo. In addition, he defeated such fighters as Billy Peacock, Sadeo Yeota, and Fernando Soto in non-title fights. After the fight with Aoka, Joffrey was also recognized as world bantamweight champion by the WBC. Okay? Therefore, becoming the undisputed world champion. Right? We had the NBA, and the NBA was the WBA by then. It was WBA, WBC. And that made him undisputed after he beat Aoka. And, little side note, Joffrey is one of a few vegetarians to ever win a world title. Was a vegetarian. One of the few vegetarians to ever win a world title in boxing. Up until his defense against Caraballo, Joffrey had the record for the longest undefeated run in boxing history since the start of her career. This short record was shortly after to be broken by Nino Benvenuti, and much later on by Julio Cesar Chavez. But Joffrey did have that record for the longest unbeaten streak to start a career. On May 17, 1965, his streak as an undefeated fighter was broken when he lost to the Fighting Geraldo by a 15-round split decision in Japan, and he lost the world bantamweight title. Geraldo was the only fighter ever to defeat Joffrey as a pro. He had a couple of draws, but just that one defeat in his pro career to the Fighting Geraldo. After losing to Geraldo by unanimous decision at a rematch, well, he had a couple losses, but they both were to Geraldo, the same man. After losing to Geraldo by unanimous decision in a rematch held in Tokyo on June 1st, 1966, Joffrey retired. In 1969, he made a comeback, beating Rudy Corona by a knockout in 6 rounds on August 26, 1969. After winning 13 fights in a row, he challenged for a world title once again. On May 21st, 1973, he fought Jose Legua for the world featherweight title in Brazil. He became a 2-division world champion by defeating Legua with a 15-round unanimous decision. Despite having won his second world title, Joffrey realized he was nearing the end of the road as far as his boxing career was concerned. He did defeat Frankie Crawford in a non-title fight and defended his world featherweight title against fellow former world bantamweight champion Vicente Saldivar of Mexico in a super fight held in Salvador. He knocked Saldivar out in 4 rounds. After a string of fights against lesser opponents, he retired, having beaten Octavio Famoso Gomez by a 12-round decision on October 8, 1976. It was his final fight. Joffrey has since dedicated himself to being a boxing trainer in Brazil. And he also owned businesses such as supermarkets. He had a record of 72 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw as a pro, and 50 knockouts, making him a member of the exclusive group of boxers that has won 50 or more fights by knockout. And of his 2 losses, they were both to the same man. Okay? And I forgot who it was already. Yeah, but his 2 losses was to the same guy. Fighting Geraldo. Yeah, Fighting Geraldo. Only man to ever defeat Joffrey as a pro. Yep. Eater Joffrey. And he is a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame and the World Boxing Hall of Fame. The greatest bantamweight of all time. Also a featherweight champion. Ida Joffre. Okay, so let's talk about some other Brazilian fight. Some other Brazilian fighters. Is 72-2. Both losses coming to the Fighting Geraldo. Okay, that was Ida Joffre. Now let's talk about some other Brazilian fighters. Acelino Freitas, another great Brazilian boxer. Okay. There we go, right there. Acelino Freitas, Brazilian boxer. Yeah, that's Acelino right there, standing up. Got somebody on the deck. Talk about Acelino real quick. Acelino's nickname was Popo. Acelino Popo Freitas. He's a Brazilian politician and former pro boxer. Competed between 1995 and 2017. A world champion in 2 weight classes, having held the WBO super featherweight title from 1999 to 2004, the WBA super featherweight title from 2002 to 2004, and the WBO lightweight title twice between 2004 and 2007. After retiring from boxing, Freitas went into politics and was elected as a legislator for the state of Bahia from 2011 to 2014. His nickname Popo was given to him by his mother after the sound that babies make while drinking milk. Acelino had a total of 43 fights during his pro career, won 41, lost 2. He had 34 knockouts. Acelino Freitas. Okay. Suarez de Lima. Suarez de Lima. Oh. Man, I keep hitting the wrong button. It's Suarez de Lima. Okay, let's take a look at him. And his another Brazilian fighter. Okay. Suarez de Lima, Brazilian boxer. Here we go. Okay. We're going to go past Suarez. I'm having problems getting him up. Let's go to João Henrique. João Henrique. Man, this ain't working out too good. Manuel de Oliveira. Well, do have his picture. There's Manuel right there. Manuel de Oliveira. Somebody gonna come up. Yeah, another Brazilian boxer. He was a Brazilian middleweight boxer, okay? Had a total of 51 fights. He won 45, lost 5, had 1 draw, 27 by knockout. Everaldo Costa Acevedo. Everaldo Costa Acevedo. Now, former Brazilian former pro boxer, competed from 1963 to 1982. Acevedo was ranked as the best junior welterweight in the world by the WBA in 1974 and number 2 in the world by the WBC in 1972. He would fight for the world title twice in his career. Came up a little short both times, but in 2 world title fights. Had a total of 128 fights in his career, 128. He won 79, lost 22, 26 draws, 20 by knockout, 79 wins, 20 of them by knockout. Wow. So I guess it's safe to say he didn't have a lot of pop. But hey, you don't always need pop. You got to find other ways to win sometimes, even if you have pop. Sometimes you can't get your man out of there, right? Let's see if we can get Peter Venancio up here. Least of all, we got his picture, Peter Venancio. Peter Venancio, Brazilian boxer. Now he had 61 fights in his career. He won 48, lost 12, had 1 draw, 36 knockouts. Peter Venancio. Okay. Just looking at some boxers from Brazil. We're looking at Brazil today as our country. It's Thursday. Valdemir Pereira. Valdemir Pereira, okay. Former Brazilian pro boxer, competed from 2001 to 2006. He held the IBF featherweight title in 2006. As an amateur, Pereira represented Brazil at the 2000 Olympics, reaching the round of 16 of the featherweight bracket. Didn't medal, but he reached the round of 16, okay? And his pro career, he had 5 years, he had 25 fights. He won 24, only lost 1, okay? 15 by way of knockout. Okay, only 1 loss. Francisco de Jesus. Francisco de Jesus. That's Francisco on the right there. Just looking at some Brazilian boxers. Boxing in Brazil today. When there's any relation to Esteban. Esteban was Puerto Rican though. Probably not. Probably not. Francisco de Jesus. Okay. Again, former Brazilian boxer. competed from 1980 to 1994, 14-year career. He challenged for the WBA super welterweight title in 1989. Again, he fell a little short also, but he challenged for it. As an amateur, he competed at 2 consecutive Summer Olympics in 1976 and 1980. Didn't medal, but he was in 2 Olympics. Francisco De Jesus, veteran of 2 Olympic Games, 76 and 80. He was in there with that great United States team. United States had a great team in 1982, but they boycotted. Didn't get to go. That's messed up. Adelson Rodriguez. Everybody know how to spell Rodriguez. It's like a Hispanic name. That's like Smith for an American name, Rodriguez. Like Smith or Jones. Adelson Rodriguez. You gonna do me like that, Adelson? Okay. That's Adelson on the right there. I think I changed it. Well, he was a Brazilian former boxer. He scored 61 knockouts, right? With 43 of those coming within the first 5 rounds. His nickname was in Brazil was Magrela. It came from the cartoon Magilla Gorilla. Wow, that ain't him. Yeah, that was him. Yeah, that's him on the left. Yeah, that's him on the left. Right, I'm right on time. Adelson Rodriguez, 61 knockouts, 5 in the first 5 rounds. Okay? And he had 85 total fights. 77 of them was wins, right? 7 losses, 1 draw, 61 knockouts. Let's see. That might be 80. 79.2% knockout ratio. I knew it was close to 80. I got an eye for those knockout ratios. Then we got a female, Rose Volante. There's Rose on the right with the blonde hair. Yeah. Rose Volante. Looking at some Brazilian fighters. We're going to look at some great bantamweights too, since the greatest boxer from Brazil did his best work as a bantamweight. But Rose Volante. She had the WBO female lightweight title from 2017 to 2019. Reigned as champion for 2 years. 16 total fights. Won 15, just 1 loss. And 8 knockouts. Okay, in 15 fights. That's not bad for women's boxing. 8 knockouts in 15 fights. 53%. Okay, for Rose. Let's look at a couple of active fighters from Brazil. Starting out, I'll give y'all one guess. Who we gonna start with? Active fighters from Brazil. I guess we'll start with Conceição. Robson Conceição. Now, if I hadn't heard people say his name, I couldn't imagine what I would call that. Conceição. Man, I wouldn't even attempt it. But I've heard so many people say it. Robson Conceição. But just if I hadn't just seeing it for the first time, I would butcher that up good. But Robson Conceição, okay? Now, he has had the WBC super featherweight title from July 2024 to November 2024. Shouldn't have had it. I don't think he beat O'Shaquie. But O'Shaquie did get it back. But as an amateur, Rosa became the first Brazilian boxer to win an Olympic gold medal, 2016. And those Olympics were in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He became the first Olympic boxer to win a gold medal, and it happened in Brazil. Robeson. Still active. Currently, Robeson has 24 fights. He's won 19 of them, lost 3, got 1 draw. And Robeson has 9 knockouts. Robeson finds ways to win other than the knockout because Robeson don't have a lot of pop. But he got 9 of them out of there. Esquiva Falcao. I don't know if he's still active or not. Esquiva Falcao. Is he? Anybody know? Esquiva Falcao. Well, the other one that fought, Yamaguchi fought David Morrell, didn't he? I haven't heard of him since that fight. Esquiva Falcao, Brazilian pro boxer. That's him. Right there. Now, as an amateur, he won a bronze medal at the 2011 World Championships, and he won silver at the 2012 Olympics. Okay? He came close to being the first Brazilian to win gold, but he came in second place. Okay? He has 32 fights, won 30, lost 2, 20 knockouts. I don't know if he's still active or not. Let me check on that. That's Esquiva. His last fight was June 15th, 2024. So I don't know. He might still be active. He fought last year. Patrick Teixeira. Is Patrick still active? Or was his last fight Xander Zayas? I haven't heard of him since Xander. But Patrick Teixeira, Brazilian fighter. Right? Let's take a quick look at Patrick. Then we're going to look at some of these other bantamweights, other great bantamweights. Yeah, Patrick, he had the WBO junior middleweight title from 2019 to 2021. He had a 3-year reign on it, okay? And Patrick, 39 total fights, won 34, lost 5, 25 knockouts. I don't remember Patrick since the Zayas fight. Let's see, let's check it out. Patrick last fight, he's still active. He fought Johnny Sanchez after Zayas. He's got a fight coming up. Wow, July 12th. Wait. July. Oh, his last fight was July 12th. It was supposed to be July 12th. I don't know what happened. Fernando Brito, it's got a question mark. But he did fight after Xander Zayas. He fought in November. And it had a fight scheduled for July 12th against Fernando Brito, but I don't know what happened. But he still is active, though. Patrick is. And Patrick has 40 fights, 35-5, with 26 knockouts. That ain't too bad. 35-5 with 26 knockouts. He went the distance with it. Didn't he go the distance with Xander? Xander was piecing him up, 74.2 knockout rate. And finally, Yamaguchi Falcao. Let's take a look at Yamaguchi. Then we're going to look at some other bantamweights, some other great bantamweights from history. Since the greatest Brazilian fighter did his best work at bantamweight, Eddie Joffre also was a champion at featherweight, and he lost 2 fights to the same man, fighting Geraldo. Yamaguchi. What just happened? There's Yamaguchi. That's Patrick Teixeira there. Yeah, that's Yamaguchi, right? Yeah. Yamaguchi has held multiple regional titles in the middleweight, super middleweight, and cruiserweight divisions. In his amateur years, he won silver at the 2011 Pan American Games and a bronze at the 2012 Olympics at light heavyweight. So yeah, Conceição wasn't the first Brazilian to medal, but he was the first one to win gold. Yamaguchi, 24 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Okay, 10 by knockout. And Yamaguchi last fought. He what's today to today, man? Because it's got all these for July 12th, but it's got a question mark. Isn't July 12th past? Gone? July 12th, 2025. He fought David Morrell in 2023, but he was scheduled to fight July 12th. But it has a question mark as to what happened. Same thing for the other guy. Okay, let's talk about some of these bantamweights. Some of these great bantamweight fighters, okay? Some of the greatest bantamweight champions of all time now. Ida Joffer was number 1, but we talked about Ida. But who is the greatest bantamweight champion of all time? Is it Ida? You got Carlos Zarate. The Monster was a champion at bantamweight. Only 4 belt to do it in the 4 belt era. Nonito Donaire. We got that bad man right now, unified at bantamweight. Know what I'm talking about? The one that we want to see fight Monster so bad. Me and Define Arnie was talking about him yesterday, but I can't remember his name. My memory is bad. But y'all know what I'm talking about. He's unified champion. He just became unified, I think, at bantamweight currently. Everybody is clamoring for him and the Monster. Japanese fighter. So let's talk about some of these other bantamweight. Some of these other great bantamweight fighters, okay? Who is the greatest bantamweight of all time? We talked about Ida. That's not Ida, because we talked about Ida, right? Like I said, Ida was 72 wins, 2 losses, and 4 draws in his career. Let's talk about him again. Okay. Consensus number 1 bantamweight of all time is usually cited as Ida Joffer, a complete fighter. This Brazilian national icon had a busy yet considered high guard style, excellent timing, a great punch, basically no real weakness. Now Joffer won the vacant title in 1960, stopping Eloy Sanchez before remaining unbeaten through 8 defenses, all stoppage wins. Worth noting, Ida Joffer was considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world during that time, amassing a stellar record of 47-0, 3 draws, 35 knockouts. That was before the Fighting Geraldo beat him. Possible issues making weight contributed to 2 razor-thin defeats to fellow great, the Fighting Geraldo, following which Joffer retired at just 30 years old. In one of boxing's great comebacks, Joffer returned at featherweight over 3 years later. He'd eventually win the 126-pound title, beating Jose Legra, and made 1 successful defense against another great, Vicente Saldivar. And Ida was 37 by that time, right? In total, he went 25 and over 15 knockouts in his comeback before retiring at age 40, okay? Then, number 2 at bantamweight is Ruben Olivares. There's Ruben Olivares, number 2 bantamweight of all time. 89 wins, 13 losses, 3 draws, 79 by knockout. Okay? For a knockout ratio of 88.7%. Ruben Olivares. Let's talk about Ruben. We're talking about some great bantamweight fighters now. Considered the greatest Mexican fighter, one of the greatest Mexican fighters ever. He was considered the greatest until Julio Cesar Chavez arrived on the scene decades later. The hard-partying Olivares had skills and a hellacious left hook to the head and body. At one point, after beating the excellent Lionel Rose in 1969 for the title, they called him Rockabye. Rockabye's record stood at a frightening 53 wins, no losses, 1 draw with 51 knockouts. He had 53 fights, 51 of them by knockout. And one of those distance fights, one of the fights that went the distance was a disqualification. Okay? Yeah. 2 fights, 51 knockouts, and one of the non-knockouts was a disqualification. Okay? His bantamweight reign was characterized by a trilogy against fellow Mexican Chuco Castillo, in which he lost the middle fight. His first defeat in his 63rd fight, but he won the other 2. 63-0 out the gate. So him and Chuco Castillo will be one of our great trilogies too. Ruben Olivares and Chuco Castillo. Olivares, yeah, we're gonna do trilogies every Monday. This Monday gonna be Gordon Gaddy. We started them out with the granddaddy of all trilogies, Ali and Frazier. Okay. Notable defenses that Olivares made include Jesus Pimentel and Alan Rudkin. By the time he lost to Herrera in 1972, making 118 pounds was proving too much for Olivares. His battles with great fighters at higher weights cemented his legend. He didn't win them all, but he avoided no one, winning versions of the featherweight title twice. Okay, that's 3 losses. Rockabye stepped into the ring with 3-weight champ Alexis Arguello and held his own. He also squared up to top champions like Danny Little Red Lopez, Bobby Chacon, Jose Luis Ramirez, David Cote, and Eusebio Pedraza. And Jose Luis Ramirez, future lightweight champion, Olivares beat him in 2 rounds, stopped him in 2 rounds. Okay. All right, number 3, greatest bantamweight of all time, Carlos Zarate. Carlos Zarate, 3rd best bantamweight of all time. Yeah, Carlos Zarate. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more in the building. What's up, Bruce Gas? Bruce says Holyfield knocked out Rodriguez and Holyfield. What's up, Bruce Gas? Yes, I had to refresh the chat because it wasn't moving. I didn't know Bruce was in there. Salute, Bruce Gas. We talked about Brazil today. I'm looking at some of the best bantamweights of all time now. Since Ida Joffrey, the best Brazilian fighter of all time, was arguably the best bantamweight of all time. But number 3 got to be Carlos Zarate, the great Carlos Zarate. 66 wins, 4 losses, 62 knockouts. And I told you about Carlos, man. The way he started his career was just crazy. Knockout ratio 93.9%. I told you. Carlos, man. That's amazing. When his first 52 fights out the gate, 51 of them knockout. Okay? Like his first 25 was knockouts. First 25 fights, right? He won his 26th fight, which went the distance. Then his next 26 fights was knockout. Okay? So let's talk about it. Another legendary knockout artist, Duarte, terrorized the 118-pound division in the late 1970s. Carlos prevailed in one of the most famous bantamweight fights ever against fellow puncher and WBA champion, Alfonso Zamora. It was a non-title fight. Lost for the first time in an attempt at the super bantamweight crown against yet another legendary huge puncher, Wilfredo Gomez, right? Duarte went into the fight with Gomez. Gomez was 21-0 with 21 knockouts. Duarte was 52-0 with 51 knockouts, okay? So they both had 73 fights with 72 of them knockouts. Between them, only one man had ever went the distance between them. Those are crazy numbers. Duarte retired for the first time after a close loss to Lupe Pinto in 1979. He returned 7 years later, racking up 13 more wins before losing 2 failed title attempts against Jeff Finnick and Daniel Zaragoza. They're amazing. Carlos Duarte. Okay? That's amazing. Then we talk about some of the greatest bantamweights. The great Manuel Ortiz. Manuel Ortiz. There he is. 99 wins, 28 losses, 3 draws, 53 by way of knockout. One of the great fighters of the 1940s. That's the one I think is number 1 in BoxRec. Manuel Ortiz was the first fighter BoxRec ever. It's first in BoxRec's database. Manuel Ortiz. I think he number 001 on BoxRec. I think. Yeah, Manuel Ortiz. Let me check real quick. I'm sorry. I just have to know stuff right at the moment. Because, when I was younger, back in the 80s, I had to wait months to find out something like this. Now you find out as fast as you can type. It was somebody around that time was BoxRec's first entry. And then we're going to talk about Manuel, the great Manuel Ortiz. Let's see. Look at this BoxRec now. Take it forever. Oh my goodness. I guess we'll find out later. Manuel Ortiz. Come on, man. What's going on? Okay, we'll find out at another time. Now I gotta get the chat back up. Come on, man. Okay, yeah, now it comes up. Manuel Ortiz. Yep. ID number 000001. He was the first entry in BoxRec, Manuel Ortiz. Yep, it was him. First boxer in the BoxRec database. Well, Ortiz. Okay. Okay, but let's talk about it, right? He was one of the great fighters of the 1940s. Based on numbers alone, Ortiz should probably be top this list, but ranking is not just about stats, okay? Anyway, two-time champ Ortiz combined. His combined reign lasted from 1942 to 1950, during which time he made a division record 19 defenses, going 21-2 in title fights. In 1947, he lost the title to Harold Dade, reclaiming it in their rematch just 2 months later. Ortiz should be in more great chin discussion, only failing to finish once in 130 fights, and that was on a cut. Okay? Stopped one time, and that was on a cut. Definitely one of the great chins of all time. Okay, Nate's great bantamweight is Panama Al Brown. Panama Al Brown. Okay, Panama Al Brown. 129 wins, 19 losses, 12 draws, 59 knockouts, for a total of 160 fights on the dot. 160 fights in his career. Panama Al Brown. Standing at a freakishly tall 5'11". That's big for a bantamweight, with a 76-inch reach at bantamweight. Brown held verges of the 118 pounds title between 1929 and 1935. 5'11" with a 76-inch reach at 118. Wow. Boxing's first Latin American champion, was well known for his flamboyant and openly gay lifestyle. A true road warrior, Brown defended his title in New York, Paris, Montreal, Marseilles, Toronto, Milan, London, and Tunis. Fought everywhere. As a side note, Brown settled in Paris and was a longtime partner, well-known surrealist, Jean Cocteau. Whoever that is. That was his well-known partner. I said he was gay, so I said him. I don't know. John Cocteau. Okay, next is Pete Herman. Pete Herman. Pete won 101 fights, lost 31, had 13 draws, 21 knockouts. 101 wins, 21 knockouts. Safe to say, Pete didn't use pop to win his fights. Okay, what's that? 132, 145 fight career. Herman fought during a particularly strong era, engaging in a series of fights with fellow great Kid Williams, who he beat for the title in 1917. Amongst others, in the 1921 super fight, he stopped all-time great flyweight, the great legendary Jimmy Wall, who afterwards conceded Pete was simply the better boxer. Yeah, I think that was in the UK, and Pete knew he had to stop him because you wasn't getting no decision against Jimmy Wall in the UK. You just wasn't. You just wasn't. Okay. Jimmy Wall was the UK darling. You go over there and you think it was bad when Hagler beat Mitchell over there. They would have probably tore the whole arena down if they would have gave somebody the decision over Jimmy Wall. So Pete Herman stopped that. Okay? Didn't leave it up to the judge. After regaining the title in 1921, Herman's vision started to fail, leading to his retirement at just 26 years old. Sadly, he ended up completely blind in the end. Pete Herman. The great trainer Ray Arcel ranked Herman among the best 12 fighters he ever saw, and he saw a lot. They tell you about Ray Arcel. Okay. Pete Herman retired in 1921. And Ray Arcel saw him fight. This is the same man that trained Roberto Duran in the 70s and 80s. And he saw Pete Herman, who retired in 1921. I told you Ray Arcel trained at least one world champion in every decade between 1920 and 1980. Some decades he had numerous, okay? When you talk about greatest trainers of all time, you got to mention Ray Arcel. It's no way you can't. And Ray Arcel said Pete Herman was among the best 12 fighters he ever saw. And he saw a lot, okay? Almost some great bantamweights. Terry McGovern. There's Terry. 60, he had a total of 79 fights. He won 65, lost 6, 8 draws, and 45 knockouts. Yet another massive puncher. What Terrible Terry lacked in boxing finesse was more than compensated by sheer tenacity and power. 65 wins, 45 knockouts. 69.2 knockout rate, but hey. Anyway, what he lacked in finesse was more than compensated by sheer tenacity and power. Now, McGovern won both the bantam and featherweight titles, and even stopped reigning lightweight champion Frank Earn, right? And controversially, Joe Gans in a non-title affair. Only 118 pounds champ for a brief time, Terry McGovern is usually ranked at featherweight, where he beat fellow all-time great George Dixon for the title. And George Dixon was also a great bantamweight. And there he is. There's George Dixon. Also a great bantamweight fighter. Okay. George Dixon. George had 153 fights in his career. He won 66, lost 30, 57 draws, 35 knockouts, and probably had many more because he fought in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and record keeping wasn't exactly good. That's an understatement. So 154 officially, but probably had many more than that. Now, boxing's first black champion won the bantamweight title way back in 1890. Like Terry McGovern, Dixon is perhaps better known for his exploits at featherweight, where he won the title 3 times over a decade-long period. Still, Little Chocolate is rightly ranked highly, also at 118. Okay. Charles Bud Taylor is Charles Bud Taylor. Wow. He had 164 fights in his career. Won 116, lost 32, 16 draws, 37 knockouts. 116 wins, 37 knockouts for Charles Bud Taylor. They called him the Blonde Terror of Terre Haute. He fought trilogies against legends like Pancho Villa, Jimmy McLaurin, and Tony Canzonieri. Enough said, yeah. And we're gonna cover some of those on some of these Mondays coming up. Deserves his place here despite a relatively short reign. Relinquished the title to move up to featherweight. Okay? Charles Bud Taylor. And finally, the Fighting Geraldo, which is the only man to ever beat Peter Joffrey. Beat him twice. Yep, so you got to put him on there. Beat Peter Joffrey twice. 62 fight career, 55 wins, 7 losses, 22 knockouts. Okay. Excuse me for 1 minute. Just 1 second. 1 second. No, 1 minute. I was waiting. I don't know. That ain't right. I don't understand. Okay, I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we're on the final one. Fighting Geraldo. Okay. Yeah, 62 fights, 55-7, 22 knockouts. Hugely popular, perhaps Japan's greatest fighter. He won the flyweight title before reigning as bantamweight champion. Okay, 1965 to 1968. 2 wins over Ida Joffre are obvious standouts, but he also beat Pone King Petch and Jose Medel, among others. The Fighting Geraldo is frequently listed Japan's best ever fighter, but he might have to make way soon for the monster, Ilya Inoue, right? What is he, 30-0 now, 27 knockouts, something like that? Yeah, the monster. Let's touch on the monster right quick. Yeah. They call him the Fighting Geraldo Japan's greatest fighter right now, but like I said, he might have to make some room because the monster is coming. I always pull up BoxRec and put the monster BoxRec. That ain't gonna work. You gotta put Naoya anyway. I don't know, it might come up. The monster BoxRec. But I'll try it, Naoya anyway. Yeah, he's currently the monster is currently 30-0, I think. Yeah, 30-0 with 27 knockouts. So Fighting Geraldo, you might have to make room, my boy. It might be already. The monster's still active, but he might be the greatest already. 90% on the dot knockout ratio for the monster. Now, many people rank the monster as the best pound-for-pound active fighter right now. Right? In 30 fights, he has had a remarkable career already, right? And he was undisputed, 4-belt undisputed at bantamweight. He's currently 4-belt undisputed at super bantamweight. And we're waiting on him in Nakatani, right? One of his defining fights came against fellow all-time great Nonito Donaire. That first fight was a doozy when Donaire broke his orbital bone, but Monster pulled it out. It was a terrific back-and-forth battle. Inoue proved he was more than just a front foot fighter, showing he could dig deep when it wasn't going his way. Cut early and suffering from a fractured orbital bone, Inoue still claimed a hard-fought decision, right? And then in the second fight, what was it like? The second round or something? He got Donaire up. Honorable mentions: Kid Williams, Joe Lynch, Sixto Escobar, Jimmy Berry. Yeah, and Jimmy Berry. Yep, there you have it. Some of the greatest bantamweights of all time. Let me ask this question. Oh no, not that one. But how's everybody this Thursday afternoon? Yeah. What is the greatest single boxing performance of all time? Okay, we got a little time left. What is the greatest single boxing performance of all time? Without a doubt, and Mike Tyson and most boxing experts agree, was Muhammad Ali's performance against Cleveland Williams in 1966. To be clear, it was a one-sided fight. And while that would sound like a boring thing to watch, it was not. It showcases Ali at the very height of his powers, and it is a historic display of excellence that answers once and for all who the GOAT of the heavyweights was and is. Yeah, that one, because, you know, when he fought Frazier, like the Thriller in Manila is called the greatest fight ever, but this wasn't Ali, was Ali. Almost unbeatable before the suspension, before the layoff, when he was fighting on a regular basis. So that's why the Cleveland Williams fight stands out, right? Define Arnie One. What's up, Define Arnie One? How are you today? Good to see you. Yeah, I was saying, yeah, Define Arnie One. I did Larry Holmes before, but we're gonna do him. He was one of the first ones I did, and that's been like over like a couple of years ago. So we're gonna do him again. Define Arnie One, want Larry Holmes. Define Arnie One, gonna get Larry Holmes tomorrow. We're gonna do him again tomorrow. I did him probably like 2 years ago now. Probably was 20. He was the third profile I did, right? And I lost track. So yeah, we're gonna do Larry Holmes. The Eastern Assassin will be the profile tomorrow. Okay? Yeah. But I'm saying, what was the greatest single boxing performance of all time? I say Ali against Cleveland Williams, and pick the 60s because that was when he was at the height of his power. So a lot of people call it Thriller in Manila the greatest fight of all time, but that was Ali, diminished Ali. You know, he had been this in the 60s against Cleveland Williams was pre-layoff, fighting regular. That was the unbeatable Ali. If anybody was ever unbeatable, it was that Ali. Now, Cleveland Williams was the Tommy Hearns of his time. Different weight class, talking about his role in all of this. He was a hitman. He got up in there and brawled and was extremely well respected by his peers and boxing fans. His two fights against Sonny Liston are what demonstrated why Liston should be feared, because Liston won both, but not easily. And that he could throw bombs. Both fights against Liston were akin to the Hagler-Hearns fight. Rock 'em, sock 'em, robots kind of entanglements. They really cemented Liston's reputation as a killer. Yeah, you want to see some, you think, if you like Hagler and Hearns, watch Liston and Cleveland Williams fight. After Ali beat Liston, there really wasn't anybody that looked interesting on paper to fight. Williams was the Texas champ, so Ali arranged a fight with him in the Astrodome. It really pumped his energy into selling the fight, right? He was the Texas champ, so Ali went to Texas to fight it. Okay? He really put a big promotion into that fight. After Ali beat Liston, okay. He went to Texas for the fight. The absent was the goading and race baiting he would later unleash on Joe Frazier. Ali, it appeared, felt he would win easy, but he had a different kind of respect for Williams. Williams had just recovered from being shot by a cop in a late night debacle involving a pullover, and still carried a bullet in his body when he fought Ali. The Williams came into the fight in good shape, chiseled, great hand speed. You can't say he was out of shape when he fought Ali, but it was clear that Ali was at another level. The fight is available in color on YouTube, right? And if you watch it, you will watch a veritable clinic. Ali got hit maybe 3 times. flush in the entire fight, if even that. A lot of people say Ali ran in that fight, but them people don't know shit about boxing. And some of them call themselves hardcore fans. But they say the Cleveland Williams fight, Ali ran, right? So yeah. Like Roger Mayweather said. Now Ali's footwork, dancing, his jabbing, his combinations were otherworldly. A key indicator of an incoming beatdown was when Ali would clap his gloves together, then move in for a devastating 3-to-9 punch combination. At times, he even threw in an Ali shuffle, something he rarely did while throwing punches, right? Yeah. He almost never threw punches while he was doing the Ali shuffle. Except if he was in the corner or something, clowning. Now the fight is expertly filmed from all angles and high resolution. Only take 10 minutes of your time, right? And it's worth watching. Yeah, that was one of the greatest performances of all time. Ali against Cleveland Williams. Great fight. I mean, great performance. It was one-sided, but that was Ali when he was Ali. But you want to watch a great slugfest? Watch Cleveland Williams and Sonny Liston, both of their fights, right? That was really something. Both of those fights. Yeah, you want to see some slugging and some great action. Yeah, those two. That was crazy. Yeah, that's going. Eastern Assassin is going to be tomorrow. Fine, RNA1. Yeah. Now that Ali, that's why I say that Ali probably would have did Frazier the same way. Probably would have been a one-sided beatdown. That Ali no fighter is unbeatable, but I say there's two fighters that are close to unbeatable as you can get. Ali from the 60s, Roberto Duran from the 70s. The Hands of Stone. Okay. Those two. Ali didn't lose any. Roberto lost one in the 70s. He was out of shape partying. After his first title against Ken Buchanan, he went out and partied, and Esteban de Jesus caught him, at the right time. But that was the only one he lost in the 70s. Okay? But, that's what Roberto did. He partied. He celebrated. That was his first world title. Just like he did after the Sugar Ray win. That was a huge. That Sugar Ray win probably was even bigger than his first world title. And he went out and celebrated. And Sugar Ray cheated and got him back in there too soon. If it would have been the next year, Roberto would have stopped him the second time. Nah, I doubt it. Seriously. But it would have but even when he quit, Sugar Ray was ahead by 2 points on one card and 1 point on 2 cards. Or either 1 point on 1 card and 2 points on 2 cards. With 7 rounds to go. Duran was still well within the fight, man. The fight was, Sugar Ray didn't have that fight won by no means. It was still up for grabs. And Roberto just quit, man. It was crazy. Still could have won. Yeah. But he got frustrated, and Sugar Ray was taunting him and putting his chin out there and wound up with the right hand, hit him with the left, and doing all kinds of stuff. Roberto said, "Man, I ain't playing with you no more," and walked away. Y'all saw that as that happened. I was like, "What?" I mean, everybody was like, "What just happened?" Roberto waved his hand at him and said something. We didn't know what he said at the time, but later we found out it was no mas. And just walked away. Even Sugar Ray was shocked for a moment. Sugar Ray just stood there and looked at his back. And then he started celebrating. But Sugar Ray didn't even know what had happened at first. Okay. Roberto said he didn't say no mas, but the referee said he said it. I don't think the referee would have any reason to lie about it, And Roberto was about an all-time favorite, but yeah, I think he said no mas. I was pissed off because he still could have won the fight, though. It was only the 8th round of a 15-round fight. You're behind by 2 points on one card and 1 point on two, or either 1 point. I'm gonna have to check that. It was either 2 points on one card and 1 point on the other two, or either 1 point on one card and 2 points on the other two. With 7 rounds to go, the fight was still very much up for grabs, right? And he just waved his hand and said something and walked back to his corner. And Ray Arcel, his legendary trainer, left him for a little while after that. Ray Arcel said, can't be associated with a quitter. But he came back because Duran was his moneymaker. Yeah, Ray wasn't crazy. He came back. But at first he left Roberto after the No Mas debacle. I don't know who he got after that. I don't know if Ray missed any fights, because after Sugar Ray, I don't know who was. Let me pull up the box and see what's happening. After Sugar Ray, who did Roberto Duran fight? His first fight after the No Mas fight was, it might have been Pepino. No, Pepino was later. Pepino Cuevas was in the 80s, I think. It wasn't Hearn. Yeah, the Four Kings wasn't really the Four Kings yet on the Roberto Sugar Ray fights. That was the first ever Four Kings fight, but nobody was even calling them the Four Kings at that point. Not yet. Okay, here we go. I got it. Okay, when was that? 1978, right? No, 1980. Nino Gonzalez. His first big fight after Sugar Ray was Wilfred Benitez in 82, which he lost, right? Then Kirkland Lane, he lost 2 straight. He lost to Benitez, then he lost to Kirkland Lane. That was a shocker. Okay, then Cuevas, Davey Moore. Then he lost back-to-back to Hagler and Hearns. Yeah, the Four Kings was established by that point. Yeah, Hagler and Hearns back-to-back. Yeah. He fought all the way up to 2000s. Only reason he stopped then because he was in a life-threatening car accident, and the doctor told him, he should give up boxing. And he did. But yeah, Roberto Duran. Ali in the 60s, Duran in the 70s was the closest thing I ever seen to unbeatable in a boxing ring. Them the hands of stone. Roberto would come out there and that, when they give the instructions, and the stare downs were stare downs then. It wasn't no looking up in the air and that fighters stared each other down. Then Roberto would just look right through a man. Doing that stare down, he would look a hole into you. What's up, Define Arnie?
What up, Cass? How you doing, sir?
Okay. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. I just pulled up, bro. You did Brazil, man. So, I mean, Marcelino Freitas, Roland Joffe.
Yeah, Joffe. He's the best from Brazil. Could be the best bantamweight ever, too.
Yeah, he did some amazing things. I don't know too much about him, but I remember,
72
reading
and
up
2.
on him.
His 2 losses were to the same man. You know, fighting Geraldo. You know, something like we always say, everybody got that one person, and fighting Geraldo was it for Ito. That was his only losses to the same man.
That's
twice.
true.
Yeah,
That's true. And I saw you mention the Kirkland Lang, Roberto Duran. Kirkland Lang was super talented. He just, you know, didn't have his head right, unfortunately. You know.
Didn't he get into drugs or something?
Say that again.
Didn't he get into drugs or something? Was it Kirkland Lang?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real sad story because he ended up homeless and everything, you know.
Yeah,
And I felt really bad for him, you know. But he was ultra talented, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
everybody was shot.
You know who he reminds me of? You know who he reminds me of? Another. The brother of Mickey Ward, Dickie Eklund, who gave Leonard a hell of a fight, but just couldn't stay out of trouble, bro. Just couldn't.
Yeah, I know. Right. And all those
even his trainer, his trainer even said it on camera. He was like, if he's here, everything is good. But once he gets out of the gym, bro, he just has to get into trouble, bro. He has so many demons, you know.
Right, because you know the trainer, you can't watch him 24/7. You know, you gotta.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Some people just like that. You can get famous, but you just can't take that out of them. You know.
Exactly.
Negative part. Some people you just no matter. You can be a millionaire, but you're a ghetto millionaire. You know what I mean? You can't take it out of them. Some people.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, man, and I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Like Esteban de Jesus is another example, bro. He ended up in drugs and badly, you know, and so many more. I'm sure, you know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
You know what you find? That's why I figured out why he didn't get in the Hall of Fame. They held outside the ring against Esteban, the murder charge and everything. You know, I think that's got to be it. Why he's not in there, you know?
The problem with that is that if you're gonna take outside of the ring into account, then you're gonna end up with a half-empty Hall of Fame. To be honest with you.
But I think for him, I think that's what happened, though. You know, because a lot of them get into drugs, but not many of them have murders and stuff. I'm not. It's not right. You should be judged on what you do in the ring. But I'm just trying to figure out why he ain't in there. I was thinking the other day that could be it. You know.
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, this is the sport for the black sheep, man. Like this is the sport for you know, it's a solo game, and I don't know, man. Like you go down the list, man. There are very few Rocky Marcianos, Alexis Arguellos. You know, very few of them. And most of these guys, most of them have been in jail or some shit. You know, like from Mike Tyson. Of course, I mean, you go down the list, and you're gonna have to start taking so many people off the Hall of Fame that man,
you know,
your head's gonna be spinning.
Boxing is the classic way out sport. You know. Like getting out of poverty. That's the classic one. Boxing is. And you're right about that.
Absolutely.
If you're going to hold out of the ring, the Hall of Fame might be in single digits. The amount of people in it. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm telling you. So yeah, I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt because, I mean, oh man, I'm telling you, I can go down the list and we'll be here all day taking people off the Hall of Fame, you know.
But you know, when Esteban became eligible to be voted in, he had already committed that murder and was in prison and everything. So I'm thinking they held that against him, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and back then maybe they paid a lot of attention to that. I'm guessing, you know, I'm legally guessing at this point, but I can't see any other good reason. No, it's not right at all because, you know, being in the Hall of Fame, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a great person. It just means that you were great at this, you know,
in the ring,
like the same sainthood, you know.
It's not a Hall of Fame person; it's a Hall of Fame boxer, right?
Right.
So yeah,
I mean,
you
yeah,
know,
for sainthood, okay, you're ineligible. But for boxing Hall of Fame, yeah, you should be eligible.
right.
You
You
know.
just shouldn't do that. What's up, the Boxing News? Salute. Yeah, you shouldn't judge the person on what they do outside the ring. You know, to hold them out. But I think in Esteban's case, they might have did that, man. You know.
Yeah, I mean it sucks to be honest with you
Yeah.
because that's a battle. That's one of the battles that I have ongoing when I debate, especially here in the island with people. They start
Mm-hmm.
going into, oh, this guy did this, and I'm like, hang on a second, guys. Like this is,
Right.
listen, if you want perfect people, I don't know where you can find them, but it's not here.
Especially
You
in
know,
boxing. Boxing is a bad
exactly.
boy sport. You know. Like
Yeah,
you
this is
said.
this is the sport for the misfit, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's very true.
And
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, but hey, I mean, um, to each his own. I don't
Yeah.
like it any more than you do. Trust me on that.
But on the
Um,
same token, a lot of people got straightened out because of boxing too. You know, you got to give them those ones their credit too. You know, like look at Dwight Muhammad Qawi. That's
yeah,
what straightened. He was in prison when he first started boxing, and when he got
right.
out, he turned pro and straightened his life out. You know, so yeah,
Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins
yep,
got out of
there
jail
you
and
go.
started boxing too.
That's
You
right.
know, and
That's right. Same
and
situation.
Mike Tyson was in jail in between his career.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean, you can go on and on. I'm telling
on and on. Yeah.
you.
Like you said, you have to take
You
a
know,
whole lot of people out if they going by outside the ring stuff.
and I'm
Go in there and
telling
take a
you,
whole
it's
send some letters. You out, you're out, you're out. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping he gets his just due
Yeah.
eventually, but I'm not holding my breath either.
Because I think
Um,
boxing, like some sports like baseball, after a certain amount of time, you stop being considered. But I don't think they do that in boxing, do you? They can put you in there. You can be out for 50 years and still get in boxing camp.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Like
Um,
I'm not holding my breath neither because man, he retired like 40 years ago and ain't in there all this time, So I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand. Listen, there's a lot of bad stories about Esteban de Jesus, Wilfredo Gomez, and Hector Camacho here. Like, trust me on that. There's a
But
lot of bad
Wilfredo
shit
and
on
Hector
the road.
both in there though,
Well, the thing with Wilfredo Gomez is that he hurt a lot of people in sparring. I mean, like really
Yeah.
hurt them. Like even he had a couple of
Okay.
lawsuits from families of sparring partners. Yeah, he went unfairly hard in sparring. Oh yeah, trust me, I've heard that from so many people that it's got to be true. And,
Did that make it hard for him to get sparring partners?
yeah, I mean, he actually a couple of them wound up, not being able to box anymore, and that's when the family members began with the lawsuits and everything because he went too hard in sparring,
Yeah. Wow.
And Camacho, eventually he got popped, unfortunately, but he was in really bad circles, and I mean, so on and so forth, so. I mean, if you're good at what you do, man, you're good at what you do. That's
right.
my. If you're a piece of shit or something, that's none of my. That's none of my. How do you say, like, concern? I'm not watching you because I want you to be my friend or I want you to be my relative. No, I'm watching you because you're good at what you do, bro. That's it. Like.
Yep.
And I don't know, man. I think it's important to make distinctions,
Yeah.
It's so important.
I just can't get over that Esteban de Jesus one that he. I actually thought he was in there a while back, but I can't figure that. Why he, I was just saying maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out reasons because he definitely had a Hall of Fame worthy career, I think. You know.
Yes, me too. And some people here don't put him in the. I mean, I guess I can see him missing the top 10 if you put Alfredo Escalera
Yeah.
or maybe you go way back in the day and you put like Sixto Escobar or Herbie Hancock or some of the way back in the day fighters, because the top 5 is pretty much undeniable, right? You got Tito, Cotto, Ortiz, Gomez, and Benitez, right? So
that's unarguable.
And then you got right. So then you got Calderon, then you got Rosario, then you got and then we can start, debating this guy.
You might
that
throw
guy.
Esteban in there in that second 5,
I can see him making that list. I mean, I have to really think about it. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna come back at you with my top 10. I'm gonna come back at you. I don't know if it's tomorrow, Monday, whatever the case may be, but or I write it in the comment, whatever. But I will get you my top 10.
I will. I'll make up one too. We'll do it Monday. Match them up. Compare them Monday. Whenever if you get whatever next week, whenever you get back in there, I'll drop the link and we'll look at it.
Oh yeah,
the Puerto Rican top 10, right?
Yes, sir. That's a problem.
I'm gonna make one too. That top. I got the same top 5 you got. That you can't even. That's set in cement. The first 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5. You can Now the order you might can change the order around a little, but Cause like I got Ortiz number 1.
Oh yeah. I gotta see some stuff on him because man, it sucks. I don't know anything about him, bro. I feel bad, really. I mean, a lot of people. Some people have told me they got him number 1 too here in the island, just like you.
Yeah, look at him around that. I guess like early mid 60s. Around that time frame was his best work. Yeah, around in there. Yeah, he was in some good fights.
Definitely watching him.
Yeah, definitely top 5. Like I said, the top 5 is set. You can change the order a little bit, but the 5 you name that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean the only one that I can see. The only one that I can see trumping that top 5 is Calderon.
Yeah. Iron Boy. Yeah.
But the curse of the lower weights, bro, that's as real thing as anything.
It hurt him. Definitely hurt him.
But hey, I mean, what?
I guess did the top southpaws yesterday, I put him in it. The top 10 southpaws all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Iron Boy was in it.
I appreciate that.
So he might could crack that top 5.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna make up one, and we're gonna compare them. Yeah,
absolutely. Can't wait.
But the Eastern Assassin. I did do him, but it's been a long. He was like the third one I ever did. That was like 2023, something like. I don't even think he was coming in here yet back then.
Oh, I don't think so. No, I met you like last year. Around. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I met you. Oh well, I know actually because I met you a little after I met Jay Hardcore.
Right.
When I went to the fight and covered it and everything, that's when I started meeting, BBO.
Yeah, I first started seeing you in Jay's chat. Actually, that's where I first saw you. That was right around that same time when you did the fight. Remember?
Yeah, around October, November, somewhere down there.
Yeah.
And been with you ever since, bro, because you're as solid as they come, bro. I gotta give you your flowers. I mean, you're the man, bro, and I love the way you you present yourself and do the show and talk and everything. Yeah. So definitely aces in my book.
But I only get the high knowledge boxing fans only come in here too, though. Everybody coming here is high knowledge boxing fans too. You know,
Oh yeah, everything is respectful. Everything is,
material is high knowledge
oh
boxing. No casuals. Casuals run out of here fast. Yeah. They don't want to hear this kind of stuff.
No, they're gonna get schooled in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, brother, I gotta do something now. I'm gonna do my best to catch you. If I can't catch you live tomorrow, I'm gonna definitely play it back because Larry Holmes is one of my top 5 favorite heavyweights of all time.
Yeah.
That much I
Underrated,
can
right?
say.
Yeah.
Super
Okay.
underrated, in my opinion.
Okay. I appreciate you, then.
Appreciate you, sir. God bless.
Right, take care.
See you soon.
Alrighty. Okay, Define. That was Define Arnie 1. All right, we get ready to get out of here. The Eastern Assassin tomorrow. And that'll be brought to you by Define Arnie 1. He wanted the Eastern Assassin. I think we did him, probably was like 2023. Because I was looking at it, he was the third one that I ever did. Yep. So we're gonna dust it off and break it back out tomorrow. The Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. Okay. So we got BN Boxing News, Define Arnie 1, Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz, and more. Just Do Boxing coming up probably already in progress. Sonny Boy Boxing, Al Booger, Mike Mazik, Mike Rim, Technique, and Miss Cass. Appreciate everybody. Be back tomorrow with the Eastern Assassin. Because if it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Just Do Boxing is already in progress. Don't meet me there, beat me there. And everybody have a great afternoon.